You campaigned for and I'm going back to some of my charts here, but that's all right today, guys. That's where I'm at. It's been a long week and it's been a long life. You campaigned for Bernie Sanders in 2016 and co-chaired his presidential run in 2020.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
We've asked him directly what happened. You know, and I was always I wish that they made it so that whoever won the presidency, the other if a president was Republican, the vice president had to be Democrat, right?
Yeah.
I wish it was like that, because then it seems like there would be
a common ground, or invited them to govern together. Even,
right.
You know, like
then there has to be some sort of teamwork, because otherwise
Yeah.
you outsource it, and it seems like it's so much more expensive. But what I was going to ask you right here was, and we've asked him directly what happened, but in your opinion, why do you think that he lost out on the nomination both times? Because I think that's had an effect on how the Democratic Party has been perceived over the years.
Well, the establishment screwed him. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He should have been the nominee in 2020.
Yeah.
You had the whole party basically like drop out, tell people to drop out and endorse Joe Biden. They resurrected Joe Biden. He had lost Iowa. He came in like 4th or 5th. He lost New Hampshire, 4th or 5th. It's never happened in the history of the party, in recent history, that someone is losing that badly and then wins. And they suddenly see Bernie's winning Iowa, he's winning New Hampshire, he's winning Nevada, unstoppable. Nate Silver had him at 70% odds to win the nomination at that point. And the party just reacts and they say no. And they convince Buttigieg to drop out and endorse Biden. They convinced Beto to endorse Biden. They convinced Klobuchar to endorse Biden.
How did they convince them all? Was it funding and stuff, you think?
Well, I think they said, look, you want to have a future.
Oh,
you can be in the cabinet. We're going to be for you. And then they're like, Bernie can't win. Bernie can't win. Come on. Donald Trump just won. He's talking about invading Greenland. And you're telling me we can't talk about Medicare for all? I mean, like the one thing that Donald Trump has shown you is like you can say what you believe.
Anybody can win.
Anyone. And that's like, you know, JD had that too. He was like, you come on, I disagree with him, but you know where he stands. Like, just campaign with your heart, campaign with your ideas. That's what, and Bernie was speaking to people who were outsiders, who were underdogs. You know, I think that's why you and I resonate. I was an underdog growing up. I was not supposed to be a politician. I didn't have a father who was a senator or a rich person or a congressperson. Like no one would have thought this Indian kid of Hindu faith was going to have any shot to get elected the dog catcher in this country.
Yeah.
But Bernie was speaking for all the folks who weren't supposed to make it, who aren't making it in this country.
Bernie was an underdog.
He was an underdog.
That's another thing about Trump, though. Trump was also an underdog. You know what I'm saying? He did have part of that with them. A lot of these, but I do think there's people that love an underdog, man. Okay, let's build the primary early, right? Who should the Democrats run? Well, first of all, do you think we need to still have just Republican and Democratic Party, or do you think there's value in getting a big financier to support like a third party? Like say if Elon Musk decided to go and support a third party.
I think there's a value in third parties. Here's the problem I have in terms of just like third parties running for president. A lot of times it has to be a billionaire. And then you're like, okay, is that billionaire really going to have the values of the working class? But in terms of parties, and I'm one of the few people in the Democrat Party who says this, I think have more parties. You know, if like the Democrats are like, oh, your third party is going to take away votes from us, that was like, be better. Like it's not the voter's job to vote for you. It's your job to convince the voter. I never understood this with like the whole Harris-Trump race. They're like, well, you know, Jill Stein is taking votes away from us. I was like, her job is to run. Your job is to convince people to vote for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if like Apple Computers wasn't selling iPhones, they're like, well, this other third-party company is taking iPhone sales away from you. Okay, well, why aren't you making the iPhone better, right? And so I think having more parties is good. I still think the Democratic Party is the vehicle where we can really have a progressive working class agenda. I think we've got to reform it in the way Bernie Sanders was trying. And you know, I think the Republican Party, I hope, will become more anti-war, will become more working class centered, so that we have reform in this country.